Good evening, everyone. Sorry about the delay. I'd just like to welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee Committee of Adjustment for the 9th day of July, 2024. I just want to remind everyone that this evening's meeting is going to be live streamed and recorded on our YouTube channel. So welcome to the folks that are watching tonight, and the ones that don't have the ability to watch tonight, they can watch it from now till eternity. So it'll be there forever. So again, welcome. Well, having said that, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll look for a motion for the adoption of the agenda as presented. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Look for a motion for the adoption of the minutes for the Committee of Adjustment for the 25th day of June, 2024. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Land severance applications. Lot addition application PLLA 2024-018 1073711 Ontario Inc. Herbert James Hart. Location lands immediately west of 1323 Bridge Street West, north side of Bridge Street West. Legal description, part lots 4 and 5, concession to former geographic township of Richmond. And normally what we do is we ask if there's anyone here in the body of the council chambers to speak for or against, just let us know and we'll get you an opportunity to have some words. And if not, we'll turn the floor over to Michael. Go ahead, Mr. Nobes.
Thank you, Worship. The application before the committee this evening is seeking permission to undertake a lot addition of approximately 28 hectares to add the productive farmland from one parcel to an abutting parcel to the east. The retained parcel would be approximately 12 acres or so in size. It consists of low-lying lands that really are not suitable for agricultural purposes, and the intention is for future residential development of the land. So given that these lands are designated prime agricultural and zoned as such in the zoning bylaw, there is no new lot creation as a result of this application. It's simply a change of lot lines between two parcels, shrinking one parcel and growing another. So staff are supportive of the application. It's really giving the good, I'll say good, productive arable farmland to the more productive parcel to the east, and retaining the lower lying lands that are really not productive, predominantly wooded. Staff are recommending that based on the size and net developable area of the retained land, that a well be installed on that parcel, given that the size would be such that only residential use could be accommodated in the future. And given density of development in the area, we are also recommending that a hydrogeological assessment be undertaken after the installation of that well to ensure that there is no negative impact to neighboring lands as a result of an additional well in the area. So this vacant parcel today could be developed with a residence, but it has not been the intention of the farm operator to date to establish such residence. But there is that permission inherent, given that it's an existing vacant parcel. This is really just to enlarge an agricultural land holding and retain a smaller portion that is really not very productive for the farm purposes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee might have. I will just note for the clerk that condition 2 proposed is that the applicant shall establish a well on the severed/retained parcel. That should just say severed, or sorry, just retained, not severed, as the severed portion is being added to an adjacent parcel. So just a point of clarification there, but happy to answer any questions of the committee.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Michael. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Michael with respect to his presentation? Go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, Worship. Through you. Thanks, Michael, for this report. Just got a couple questions. There's no MDS report in this. There's nothing in the surrounding area.
Through your Worship, no, there are no livestock facilities in the surrounding area, so no MDS is required. Typically, what we do is we undertake either an MDS Class A or B type MDS assessment, depending on the density of development in the area. Under both of those, I'll say, review distances, there are no livestock facilities that impact this application.
Okay, thank you. And just one more question, if it's okay, Your Worship,
Yeah, go ahead.
is that I noticed that in the package that we have, there's a rendering of a house. We're not here for that today at all, are we?
Through your worship, no. The intention of including the renderings of the house there is mention of the renderings being provided in the application form itself. So they accompanied the application, so they're just part of the application that was submitted to the town.
Okay,
So,
great.
We're not here specifically to speak to the style of the house. The house itself, though, would comply with zoning requirements for minimum size, heights, and that sort of thing, and can certainly be established on this retained parcel in compliance with zoning provisions.
And just, I guess maybe we are going to talk about it a little bit, and within the wetlands, there's a building envelope and such.
Through your worship, yes. So Quinte Conservation had required the proponent to clear a portion of land within the area that they intend to develop with the residents. And Quinte's gone out, done an assessment, and they've determined that area specifically is not classified as a wetland. There are wetlands as classified and regulated further to the north, but the area in which they intend to establish a home, which is approximately 50 meters or so from Bridge Street north, is not a wetland and is viable for development.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Pennell. Are there any other questions or comments for Michael? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the committee receive for information the technical report regarding application PLLA 2024-018, and further that the application permit a lot addition of 28.3 hectares be approved, subject to a number of conditions that are contained within our agenda this evening. Moved by Councillor Pennell, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item up on our agenda is minor variance application. Minor variance application PLVAR 2023-045 CDV Investments 2021 Inc. Ken Dunn, location 4159 County Road 9, Hay Bay Resort, legal description, concession for part lot 20, 29 R4099, part lots 1 to 3, former geographic township of Adolphustown. And I see that I think the proponent or the applicant is here, and we'll give you an opportunity to speak, Mr. Dunn, if you wish to. And but normally what we'll do is we'll let Michael start, and if we have any questions or comments, we may have to ask you to come to the front, and we'll see if we can get those questions answered. So go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Worship. So this application has been under site plan review for quite some time. It has evolved over the past approximately year or so. And there have been minor tweaks to the plan over that course of time. So these 3 items are to address all of the areas of deficiency that have been identified during that site plan review. And item number 1 consists of reducing the setback from the high water mark of the water body adjacent to the property from 30 meters to 16.5 meters. And this is specifically related to sewage system components on the property. So the municipality is not the regulatory authority of the sewage system for this site. Given the flows involved, this is a Ministry of the Environment regulated system. So they'll be undertaking review to ensure that I'll say aspects of this system in proximity, closer proximity to the water body itself will be adequately mitigated, given that it will be a very high performance system that the ministry will be requiring to be installed. So that's item number 1. There are a couple of pump chambers and portions of the system itself that are within our usual 30-meter setback for sewage systems. The building code has a reduced setback, but our zoning has a higher standard in an effort to pull sewage systems back from water bodies to increase that separation distance and to allow for more filtration before any effluent leaving a system makes its way eventually to a water body. But again, with the ministry regulating the system, they'll be looking at aspects specifically such as that and ensuring that the system is designed and installed appropriately. The second item is related to a reduction of required parking spaces from 77 to 67. And that is related to predominantly a group dining facility proposed for the site. There are a number of parking spaces required, and it's quite a convoluted calculation based on our zoning provisions. But given the number of cottages and spaces for rent, plus I'll say this group dining facility, other buildings on the property, there's a full calculation that's completed based on certain ratios and building footprints. That has resulted in a need under the zoning of 77, but unfortunately, the development can only accommodate 67 on the property. Staff have reviewed it. It's a fairly small reduction that's being requested here. And the County of Lennox and Addington does not have concern with overflow parking landing on County Road 9, given that the site is quite flexible. There are areas on the site that could be used as makeshift parking if need be, outside of the dedicated spaces. So staff are supportive of that, given that the county does not have concern with this request. There was also a traffic study that was completed helping to corroborate the requested reduction. And the last item is to allow for an expansion of a legal non-conforming use pursuant to section 45(2)A(II) of the Planning Act. Unfortunately, the zoning fabric for this site was initially completed many years ago in a GIS format. It was then converted to AutoCAD, and the lines were unfortunately shifted off of property lines. And there's a number of areas within the municipality where the zoning fabric is skewed. It's intended to be following property lines, but it's been shifted inadvertently, I'll say. So given that a portion of a couple of buildings are anticipated to cross that imaginary line on the property, the division line is on the west side of this. It is zoned recreational commercial. On the east side, it's unfortunately zoned prime agricultural. The intention would have been that the entire site be in the recreational commercial zone. But since that line is shifted on our zoning map, we're requiring the applicant to obtain permission from the committee to extend that legal non-conforming use across that line to enlarge a building. So those are the three requested, the two requested variances and one requested expansion of the legal non-conforming use. And staff are recommending that it's conditional pursuant to section 45(9) of the Planning Act to essentially lock in these variances as per the site plan drawings and not blanketly allow for a reduction from the high water mark to 16.5 meters site-wide. It's just solely for the works as identified on the site plan. So I hope I was able to convey that clearly for the committee, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Great, thanks, Michael. Is there any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Michael, when we're talking about the high water setback, and with the inclusion of it's just that site specific for those works, is there going to be any buildings that will be affected by this? Because we're talking about a 12-inch height differential from the high water to where this is going to be, right? So my concern is, I understand is majority for the sewer, but is there going to be any buildings affected? And if there is, what liability will fall back onto us if we approve this and there is a flood?
Through your worship, I'll say the bulk of that review is done by the Conservation Authority. They've done very detailed, updated calculations and modeling and mapping of the shoreline effectively in this area very recently. So they're very confident in both the flood elevation hazard and erosion hazard, and they're comfortable with their issuance of a permit to allow for development within at this reduced setback under our zoning bylaw. So staff are, I'll say, deferring to their expertise in that sense. There can always be some amount of liability in issuing a permit, but I would say we've done our due diligence. The Conservation Authority's done their due diligence in the review of this. And if there is an issue down the road, I would say we've done as best we can to mitigate those concerns.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pennell. Is there any other questions or comments for Michael? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the committee receive for information the technical report regarding application PLVAR 2023-045, and further that the application requesting the following variances contained in this agenda from the Town of Greater Napanee zoning bylaw 0222 as amended be approved. Moved by Councillor Pennell, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. And we'll look for a motion for adjournment of the committee adjustment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you about 10 minutes for the regular session of council.